Welcome to the first episode of F.T.F.
G'day maniacs, Dwayniac here, and my oh my, how the tables have turned. This reminds me of 2016, when Games Workshop cast the most powerful WAH spell in recorded history. We had heard of the Fists of Gork, we had heard of the Hand of Gork, but nothing could have prepared us for the Finger of Gwark. Even after fantasy fans, loyal fantasy fans, had spent thousands, some tens of thousands, on Warhammer Fantasy Battles, the Finger of Gwark came in and destroyed everything, leaving fans understandably quite upset.
That could have happened to us.
It could have done, but it didn't.
And from the ashes of fantasy, a new age arrived, the Age of Sigmar. Understandably, fantasy fans became very anti-Age of Sigmar because it replaced the game they'd sacrificed their financial stability for. So a stigma began to form around fantasy players as being bitter, sourpuss, gatekeeping boomers. Age of Sigmar players took pride in being a welcoming community, while fantasy players were seen as unwelcoming and intolerant of a new rule set. Fast forward to 2024, and once again, Games Workshop have cast the dreaded spell, Finger of Gwark. But this time in an odd twist of fate on Age of Sigmar, killing off two of the beloved factions because they're coming to, guess what? That's right, the new Warhammer Fantasy. Understandably, Age of Sigmar fans became very anti-Old World because it's replacing the factions they spent their life savings on. So guess who turned into the bitter sourpuss gatekeeping boomers?
You have become the very thing you swore to destroy.
Just join any Age of Sigmar Facebook group and read how they feel about the Old World. Age of Sigmar players, if you are affected by this, don't be like those gatekeeping boomers. Don't complain about it. Instead, take this as an opportunity to embrace a new rule set, a new game that you may or may not be familiar with. Come to Warhammer the Old World. It's fun over here. Now, I have made stabs at Age of Sigmar before. Sigmar meeting a magic dragon in space is terrible, right?
And the spirit hosts pass through the walls of the tower, howling about how they wish they had played more Warhammer Fantasy while they were alive, and less Age of Sigmar.
The Age of Sigmar players who dumped all their savings into one or two models have not been able to pay their water bill in weeks, and so they rush forward to drink from a pond, satisfying their need for water, but not satisfying their need for a good tabletop game.
But it's all for show. It's humorous, and humor works well when you play on stereotypes. So I take on the persona of a stereotypical Warhammer Fantasy gatekeeping lover in these reports purely for shits and giggles. My anti-AOS jokes are not to be taken seriously. I mean, as grown-ass men and women, can we all not agree that hating on any particular rule set to the point that you're making comments like this is extremely immature? AOS and Old World are both good games. If they weren't good games, they wouldn't sell, and they certainly would not have stood the test of time. Now, speaking of standing the test of time, let's talk about those Stormcast Eternals. A whopping 23 Stormcast Eternals model kits are being axed from production. That includes all of the Sacrosanct Chamber stuff and even some of the named characters. Now, this may be a hard pill to swallow for the Stormcast Eternals collectors out there. I mean, these guys were supposed to be the Space Marines of Age of Sigmar, right? I mean, they're everywhere. They're on all the starter boxes, animations, novels, but it seems like all that marketing hype just wasn't enough to keep that ridiculously large model range afloat. Ironically, Age of Sigmar fans have complained that the model range is way too large, so what were they supposed to do about it? But hey, just like Warhammer Fantasy was only selling 5% of everything that Games Workshop was making back in 2015, Stormcast Eternals have to get the axe too. In a perfect world, Games Workshop would release a new game with all the models for each unit in every army in one day. Everything for that game, models, books, etc., is available to buy from the day they launched it. Then, Games Workshop just kicks back, relaxes while fans buy the models and books for that game for eternity. No new edition, no change of rules, because it's the perfect game and people will play it forever. Ah, wouldn't that be nice? But no, 2 reasons why this is an impossible dream. Number 1, that's not how the human brain works. Humanity wants what's new. We want the latest everything. Whatever's hot, new and trending, that's what we gravitate towards. Some of us would prefer to stick to the old, but the majority of us want the latest thing, especially the rising generation. That's why every time a new edition is released, products fly off the shelf. And then as time goes by, sales start to drop. We need to release a new edition to make it new, hot and trending again so people come back and buy over and over again. It's a churn and burn business model. They need to keep doing this to make it seem like it's hot and new and everyone's talking about it. Number 2, if an edition drags on for too long, it starts to get too competitive and isn't a welcoming environment for newbies anymore, as they just get trashed as soon as they start their first game with one of the veterans. You need new people every year to come into the business because the old ones are going to start dying or leaving after playing for so many years. Sometimes you have to disappoint old players to make room for new ones. This is why we have AOS 4th edition. This is why fantasy was destroyed. This is why no edition of Warhammer 40,000 has lasted longer than 3 years since 2012. No popular game lasts forever, not even popular video games. Baldur's Gate 3 is fantastic, but it is not gonna last forever, just like Halo when it came out was fantastic. Elden Ring was fantastic. Even if Games Workshop do cast a finger of Gwark on your favorite army, faction, or game, there's nothing stopping you from continuing to play that game with a small community anyway. Unless of course you want to join a Games Workshop tournament, but I mean, who does that? But if you're still not content with the loss of Beasts of Chaos, Bonesplitterz and some Stormcast Eternals, never fear, not to worry, there's a new Age of Sigmar video game that just came out to ease the wound. Oh wait a second, it sucks. But hey, there's a big discount because it sucks. And not because it's anything like the tabletop game Age of Sigmar, in fact it's nothing like the tabletop game Age of Sigmar. Stick to playing Total War 3, and if you played enough, you might just want to give the old world a chance. Thank you for watching F.T.F. Until next time, maniacs, may your miscasts be funny. Bye for now. This episode is brought to you by F.T.F. All the advice given in this video is completely biased as Dwayne loves Warhammer the Old World and Fantasy 6 Edition 2 much to give a balanced view of both games. Dwayne is not responsible for anyone who believed that any of the headlines displayed at the bottom of the screen were actually real. I mean, come on, anyone with a brain can tell they were satire. Do I need to record this really fast voiceover to cover my ass in the event that some dumbass thinks any of them were based on real life events? Wait, maybe some of them were.